Christopher Cantwell and Cafu pit Korvac against Tony Stark one final time, but will Tony's own sins get the better of him before Korvac can deliver the final blow? Christopher Cantwell finishes up his huge 19-part Korvac saga storyline with one of the best finales I have ever witnessed in comics. Everything about this issue was a culmination of Tony and Korvac's journeys from issue 1 until now, and it's all laid out in a brilliant sequence that saw Tony beat the villain without ever laying a hand on him, and in a way where he kind of respects the villain for doing what he was doing and understands why he was doing what he was doing. Korvac's whole part has been so compelling and at times really sympathetic, and I loved Cantwell finding the parallels between him and Tony and their constant need for power to stay ahead of everyone and have that advantage against everyone, and tying it flawlessly into Tony's battle with addiction and depression, since these type of powers and this want for a perfect world was Korvac's addiction. Korvac's ending was very sad, being that while human, he knew he couldn't have everything he wanted, believing death was the better option, and again with parallels with Tony, whereas Korvac accepted death, whereas Tony chose life and chose to try and be a better man and try and fix the problems within him. It's utterly compelling, relatable, and human emotions, and it's just fantastically displayed and thought out. Cafu returned for the end of the Korvac finale with more beautifully rendered artwork and compelling emotional character moments, capturing the sadness of both Tony and Korvac's arcs throughout this story flawlessly in some amazing full-page spreads and use of paneling to get their emotions across. Iron Man issue 19 was one of, if not the best comic I have read this year so far. Its simple yet compelling storytelling and exploration of Tony Stark's addictions and paralleling that with Korvac's own addictions to power was some of the best character work I have ever seen in a comic, culminating in an emotional and hopeful ending to the massive Korvac saga arc. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10. Iron Man issue 19 finds the sick Tony Stark at the mercy of Michael Korvac, who slaps the man around as he comes out of his morphine withdrawal daze, feeling like he's going to puke. Korvac says that he's come to end Tony Stark, and the In-Betweener and even the Living Tribunal couldn't stop him, since he was too strong and compelled by his absolute hatred for Stark. Korvac continues his villainous monologue, knowing that killing Stark will achieve the peace he has been fighting for. Tony merely says that that's okay before puking on Korvac, telling the villain that there is an elegance to his very simple plan. Korvac asks what's happening to Stark, but Tony asks him a simple question. When was the last time he was an honest-to-God person, and not a cyborg or an android or a cosmically powered whatever? Tony, however, knows that Korvac actually hasn't been born yet, and Korvac confirms he's actually from the 31st century, and it's very different from now, since being human is considered a curse and suffering. He knows the Badoon invaded and slaughtered billions, but Tony knows he escaped, thinking that he made some sort of deal to get out of all of the torture and murdering. Korvac snaps, demanding Tony stop baiting him as he grabs the man, saying goodbye to him. Tony, however, tells him that he needs to know that this is how he beat Tony Stark. Korvac drops him, so Tony tells him that he knows that this has been his whole thing since the beginning, and he was smart, but Korvac always needed more, be it a protective alien master, android bodies, cosmic power, and everything else, and he always had to have some type of ace up his sleeve and advantage. Tony asks him how long he's been scared, thinking that it's been like that since the beginning, since being just some guy meant a painful and ultimately inconsequential death. Tony understands more than most, knowing that he wears a metal suit just to feel okay and feel real, but even then it's not enough. He thought Korvac was full of it with his crusade and everything, but then he got himself some of the power cosmic, and it didn't change a damn thing about him. He tells Michael to stop hiding and be a man for once in his life. He tells Michael to just try it, wondering if he's too scared to, so Korvac relinquishes the power cosmic, using it one final time to turn himself into a real human being. Overcome with anger, he begins beating Tony, who wonders if this is where he lets Korvac kill him. Soon enough though, Tony begins coughing again, falling down. Korvac asks what's happening, so Tony reminds him how he said the armor and power cosmic weren't enough, and he's been always looking for more, and he's been using drugs to keep going and stay strong so he doesn't lose, but that didn't work either, and it made him sick, and now it's probably going to kill him if Korvac doesn't kill him first. Tony falls unconscious as Korvac wonders what to do now, noticing a shooting star in the sky above. Michael grabs Tony, picking him up and carrying him out of the park into a nearby hospital. As he leaves, Tony remembers not knowing what Michael Korvac did that night or if he ever will, and even for all his intellect, he doesn't even know if Michael could tell him either. Michael leaves the ER, heading up to a nearby roof as Tony says that he's been across the universe enough times to know one thing. The cosmos feels every moment and absorbs every act and resonates with every life and death, be it a god or a man. As Michael takes in the night sky, the man who was once God takes one step forward, jumping off the roof and killing himself. 1 week later, Tony meets with Patsy, who picks him up and heads out of town. Tony thanks her for driving, but Patsy apologizes it's not in a muscle car, but Tony finds her little car definitely is faster off the line. She thanks him for choosing her to drive, but Tony knows that she was his only choice. As they head through farmland, Patsy asks how long he's going to stay, and Tony hasn't decided, knowing it's done in 28-day cycles and this won't be a one and done stay, so he'll stay as long as it takes. Patsy thinks that makes sense as they arrive at the rehabilitation center. Patsy asks if Tony wants help moving in, but Tony knows he can handle it himself. Patsy still gets out of the car, wanting a goodbye hug in exchange for driving him. Tony agrees to give her one, asking when it's time will she pick him up, and Patsy is more than happy to, since she is his only choice. Heading inside, Tony is welcomed into his room, told his work starts tomorrow. The staff give him a letter that arrived before he got there, and upon opening it, he finds it's from Frogman, telling him that he knows that Tony can do this, calling himself Tony Stark's friend.